It looks like it's going to be a really nice night because we have so many great things to celebrate, and that's what this job is all about, promoting students and their successes. We'll begin, as we always do, with our administrative remarks. And Ms. Culligan, would you mind kicking it off for us?
Good evening, everyone. I would just like to mention that on Monday, June 4th, I attended the National Board Recognition Dinner in Terrytown to honor 3 BTA members who achieved their National Board certification. Jason Fiddler, science teacher at Wells, Jess McKeon, and Kate Simmons, both school counselors at the high school. I would like to congratulate Jason, Jess, and Kate on their accomplishment.
Carlson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good evening, everyone. Just a few updates. Our audit committee met on May 29th to review our internal audit report, which focused on our revenues and accounts receivable. The audit committee reviewed this report and will be recommending to the Board of Education for acceptance at the June 26th meeting. Our finance committee also met on June 8th to review the financing plan for our ongoing capital project. The fund balance projection for 17-18 as well as our 18-19 budget, and a plan to fund our reserves for year end, which will again be recommended for board approval at the June 26 meeting. I just want to thank Karen Bridges, Eric Larka, and Scott Seaman for participating on the committee. We really appreciate their help with the committee. Just this afternoon, a few hours ago, we had a Fields Renovation Committee. We met to discuss the bid results for the Fields Renovation Project, which you'll see is agenda items C4 and C5. And we've asked Joe Riley from KG&D Architects to help us discuss these agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. We appreciate it.
Real quick, I'm going to ask Joe Riley to speak.
Welcome, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As you may be aware, we rebid the parking lot work at JFK and the field work for the baseball and softball fields. We opened bids on May 31st. We have recommended award of the paving contract to the board to award the contract for a total of $857,000 to Consorti Brothers Paving to do that work. We have also recommended rejecting the bids for the field because they were extraordinarily high, and we are going to rebid the project again. We just finished meeting with the Fields Committee to go through the reasons and the strategic changes we are going to make in the bid. We're recommending that we rebid the project, advertise it tomorrow, and issue it for bid next Tuesday on the 19th. This will give us a 2-week bid period. We hope to award in early July, right after the Independence Day holiday, and be on track to have the work done in time for the grass to germinate properly in the fall, so the field will be ready in the spring.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Thank you. Okay, thank you. And Ms. Gosh, how are you doing today?
Very well, Dr. Jambor. If you don't mind, I'll withhold my comments for this evening, given the length of the agenda.
Okay to me. And Dr. Henning, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you, Dr. Jambor, Board Trustees. Just a couple of comments. Tonight we celebrate the contributions of 30 staff members who retired. Some are here, and some probably are doing what retirees do, which is enjoy and reap the rewards of all their hard work. The administrators who work with them will be sharing a history in a little while about what they have been doing. So I congratulate them in advance of the official session in a moment or two. And this evening we're also honoring some amazing students who've excelled in a variety of areas, ranging from lacrosse. Is that anyone here from lacrosse? Wrestling, Eagle Scout, and I think that's probably, that could go on and on because we have many, many examples, but these are the young people who are here today who really are showing a showcase of what it means to be a student in Brewster, and we really applaud them. Coach Ferraro will be talking about these wonderful athletes, and I'll be sharing some words about the Eagle Scouts along with Ms. Hoyler in a moment, but thank you in advance, and there'll be many more opportunities to applaud these amazing students. Last Friday, we had our second annual senior walk, which was heartwarming, and it brought lots of smiles to everyone's faces, especially the children in the hallways cheering them on. We'll continue the festivities on Saturday at 10 o'clock at the 127th graduation of Brewster High School. And our budget vote is on June 19th at 6 o'clock, closing at 9 at Brewster High School. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll keep it brief and to the point. For the past 8 months now, I've had the distinguished opportunity to represent school boards on a statewide committee which is designing our collective response to the opioid situation, which is the tip of the iceberg, and to mental health risks that children today are facing. This past Saturday, I was in Latham, which is the headquarters for NISPA, and talking to their board of directors, really discussing how school boards can help school districts across the state, beginning this July 1, implementing the mental health initiative that's coming out of Albany. It's not going to be quick and easy. It's going to take us a long time, but this is a huge, significant first step. You'll see the rollout here in Brewster almost immediately. The board that will be in place this summer, next September, will be asked upon to create and vote upon its own local policy that affirms these services and this intervention. So you could look forward to that happening here as well. I'm sorry, please.
And how could I forget the Olympics of Visual Arts? Are there any students here? Mrs. Michelini takes a group of students up and they place highly, but this year is really going to amaze you if you don't know. So we'll wait for that presentation, but I apologize for leaving them out.
Okay. So let's begin with our presentations and recognition. The first one being the 2018 retirees.
The administrators who work with these outstanding staff members will be presenting some brief history, biographical history about the staff members, so I asked them to please come up. There are 30 retired staff members, but not all 30 are here, probably about 12 are present. So let us start with, we'll start with Brewster High School.
Oh, perfect. Not like the other night. The other night I couldn't get any microphones working. So, I have 5 retirees tonight. For this one, the term Renaissance man is not a term used often today because such people no longer are revered, but because few of us are able to attain the well-roundedness that this title denotes. Richard Murray is a true Renaissance man. Dick Murray got his undergraduate degree in pre-med biology from Pace University, a master's in counseling from the University of Bridgeport, and a PhD in counseling and psychology from the Union Institute. Dr. Murray was inspired to become a counselor when he took psychology courses in college. This year will be his 24th year at Brewster and his 30th as a school counselor. Dr. Murray also has a private practice, and the highlight of Dr. Murray's career has always been working with students. It is always a challenge, but it's a challenge that in the interaction that he will miss the most. What are Dr. Murray's plans for retirement? Golf, guitar lessons, movie watching, spending time with his family, and taking care of his dogs, because his wife still has to work for 4 more years. 50 years ago, Dr. Murray graduated from Brewster High School. So, on Saturday, Dr. Murray will be saying the pledge as a 50-year high school alumni of Brewster, and then reading all 270 some odd graduate names at our graduation for his final time. So we will miss Dick a lot at the high school. He's just one of those people you can always go to. He's just a remarkable person. So thank you, Dick Murray. Mary Edelson. Mary Edelson is an earth science teacher here at Brewster High School. Mary is retiring after 19 and a half years as a Brewster High School teacher and 27 as an educator. She began her career as a research chemist. Mary always felt she needed to be a teacher. So in the early 80s, she went back to teaching when they were laying off chemists. So she said, I want to be a teacher. And she stressed, so she came to Brewster. And since then, she's stressed the value of persistence in treating others with respect. Mrs. Edelson has devoted her working life to imparting to her students the skills and habits of the mind that will prepare them for future success. In retirement, Mrs. Edelson plans to travel with her daughter. They're going to Alaska on a cruise this summer and play golf. On behalf of the students and staff at BHS, we thank you for your dedication to our students. Felicia Migliaccio, she's here tonight, is a modern language teacher here at Brewster High School. She received her BA from Fordham University and her master's degree from Iona College. She has been teaching a grand total of 37 years, 34 of them here at Brewster. During her time at Brewster, Mrs. Migliaccio has taught French, Spanish, and Italian. Throughout her career, Felicia has always been a tireless advocate for world language education. Felicia's passion for education, however, is not all that defines her. She is an exceptional cook and a world traveler. In the classroom, Mrs. Migliaccio shares with her students not only her love of language and learning, but also her passion for the cultures of the world. In retirement, Mrs. Migliaccio plans to continue traveling, gardening, crocheting, knitting, very busy, and reading. Working with you has been such a pleasure. I appreciate your thoughtful and steady approach to solving any problem, large or small. You prove that it doesn't take a loud voice to accomplish tremendous things. Best of luck and enjoy your retirement. Mrs. Janine Woe is another Brewster High School graduate from 1981. She's been an invaluable member of the special ed department and a department liaison and advisor to countless clubs and activities. Throughout the years, she's been the advisor for junior class, challengers, and bingo. And it's a very loud group that comes to play bingo once a month. It's fantastic. It's a testimony to her how many kids come out and play with us. It was wonderful luck that a special ed position became available at Brewster High School. Mrs. Wool was thrilled to be able to continue working with students she knew in a school where she already felt at home. Being a teacher has been a blessing for Mrs. Wool, and she has enjoyed every single minute of her senior year. That's what she's calling this final year. She has attended balls, military balls, proms, games, participated in the faculty choir, and played Family Feud. In retirement, she is looking forward to spending time with her family. She is very thankful for all the wonderful colleagues and students that she has had the pleasure of working with over the years. We wish Mrs. Wool and her family happiness and health. So my final retiree is Anne Marie McLeod. So Anne Marie McLeod is a highly respected social studies teacher at Brewster High School. You would be hard-pressed not to hear someone, a faculty member or a student, saying just absolutely wonderful things about Anne Marie McLeod. Her career started in disadvantaged schools in inner cities. 24 years ago, she was lucky enough and had the opportunity to come back home, because she too was an alumni in 1974, to Brewster and work her magic. When asked what she noticed in her students, she said, a broad continuum of gifts and experiences, a real desire to contribute to and genuine kindness. Interestingly enough, these are the exact words that I would use to describe Mrs. McLeod. She lives up to these ideals every single day. Mrs. McLeod has been an advisor for Democratic Congress, shaping our student leaders and gently nudging them to be greater than the individual self. She has been a true instructional leader through her work with colleagues and as a teacher liaison for the Social Studies Department. It's been a joy to work with someone so passionate, calm, and professional all at the same time. While I've only had a chance to work with Anne-Marie for 2 years, it's clear that your dedication to the students has made a huge positive impact on the lives of everyone at the high school. I hope retirement brings you wonderful things. You will greatly be missed.
Thank you. I find it kind of inspiring to hear how many teachers actually graduated from Brewster and then came back here to spend their careers here. I think that says a lot about us as a community. So congratulations to all of you who are retiring and for all of your service. Joanne Catrone has spent 18 years working in Brewster as a teacher's aide. Mostly she enjoyed working with students and making a positive impacts on their lives. She was always an early riser, usually the first one to greet me when I come in the door. In her retirement, she's looking forward to relaxing and doing a lot of work around her house. We wish her good health and a long, happy retirement. Claire Ryan began working in Brewster on February 15, 2006 as a clerical aide at Garden Street. In September of 2012, she was transferred to WMS Guidance Department and remained a part of the family there until her retirement recently. Claire loved working with children and always brought a cheerful, positive attitude to work with her every single day. Claire loves to travel, especially she loves going on cruises. She's looking forward to her retirement, and we wish her good health and safe travels. Kathy Bedardchik. Are you here, Kathy? Hi, Kathy. I'm just checking attendance, Kathy. Kathy Bedardchik has worked in Brewster for 18 years. She began her career working at CV Star in 1999 as a classroom aide and began working at H.H. Wells in 2013 as an attendance aide and a computer aide. Prior to working for Brewster, Kathy spent 15 years working for Westchester ARC and has always enjoyed, more than anything, working in a capacity to help other people. Kathy is the proud mother of 2 incredible children who always take good care of her, and she's very proud of them and her girls. Her daughter, Brittany, is a first-grade teacher at JFK. She continues her mom's legacy of taking care of Brewster's children. For the past few years, I've had the pleasure of working with Kathy on a daily basis. Kathy cares so much about making sure the kids are safe and that we know where they are at all times. Her job is not an easy one, but because she cares so much, she makes our lives a lot easier. Takes a lot of the worrying off our plates, and we are deeply grateful for that, Kathy. Kathy will always remember her experiences working in the extended school year program every summer, working with the annual pasta dinner, participating in the Wells faculty choir. I tried the choir, they kicked me out. I was the only one. Mostly she will remember all of her friends that she has made in Brewster. Kathy plans on spending time with her family and doing some traveling, starting with a trip to Disney. She also plans to continue to work part-time as Aversano, so stop by and say hello, but don't be late because she'll call you out. Good luck, Kathy, and thank you. Debbie Laragina worked temporarily at the DO from October 1995 to June of 1996. She was permanent as a library aide at Wells from September 1996 until her retirement this year. One of her proudest accomplishments is surviving her years with Mr. Romanelli. Deb moved to Brewster 42 years ago when her parents headed west, and she decided she wanted to keep her roots firmly planted in the Empire State. Prior to working in Brewster, she was a personal secretary and took some time to raise her two daughters, Jennifer and Vicky. She plans on spending some time cleaning out her house, taking care of her mother, and heading to Las Vegas as much as she can. Debbie is one of the kindest people that I've ever encountered in my years in Brewster. Always asking me about my family and how each one of my children were doing, remembering their names every time I saw them. How are you? How are your kids? How is your wife? What she will remember most about Brewster is the wonderful people with whom she has crossed paths throughout her time here. Debbie, thank you for your service and for your kindness. We miss you already. Mr. Nelson in the house. I don't need to say anything. Coach Nelson has worked in Brewster for 30 years as a 6th grade social studies teacher. Before that, he taught for a year at Kennedy and for 3 years in Texas. Mr. Nelligan has also coached multiple sports every single year he has been in education and is truly passionate about teaching young people the value of teamwork and respect. Mr. Nelligan has been married for 32 years to his wife Kim, and they have raised 3 wonderful children together, Liam, Aaron, and Matthew. Students will forever remember Mr. Nelligan swinging his golf club, but more importantly, they will remember the authentic way in which he cared about each of them. I had the honor of working closely with Tom as a teammate, and for the past 2 years he has stepped up to serve as Dean of Students. Tom, we will miss your leadership and your positive, optimistic energy. Tom and Kim recently bought a home in Cape Cod, and he looks forward to lowering his blood pressure and, more importantly, his golf handicap. He will also continue to coach here at Brewster for as long as he can, and I'm sure he'll find his way onto a basketball court until he can no longer make it there. Good luck, Coach Nelligan, and thank you for your service.
Good evening, everyone. Mary Ann Wood. Dr. Mary Ann Wood is retiring after 35 years in public education, 27 of which were in the Brewster School District, holding the positions of special education teacher at Wells and C.V. Starr, and serving as chairperson of the Committee on Special Education and Special Education Liaison at C.V. Starr. According to Mary Ann, her greatest joys are when former students contact her about their college and career plans. I asked some of her students what they thought of Dr. Wood, and they said, "She's sweet and she smiles a lot, and she helps us understand math." Mary Ann will always be remembered at C.V. Starr for her unending advocacy for her students, her patience, and kind manner. We wish you all the best in retirement. Nancy Angley. After 21 years in education, Nancy Angley is retiring. Nancy wears many hats at C.V. Starr. She is a front door greeter in the morning before school activities. Then she mans the back door for drop-off in the morning. Next, she moves into the classroom as an aide and a dismissal. She directs parents for pickup, and she's the union representative for the aides. I asked some of the students what they thought about her, and they said, "She elaborates stuff, so I understand it. And she knows a lot about friendship problems." Another said, she's not afraid to speak her mind. And I agree. The students and staff will miss Nancy very much. We wish her all the best in her retirement, but we will be giving her a two-way radio, and just in case we need her, any of the many jobs that she has held. Thank you.
Good evening to the Brewster community. First person I'd like to speak about is Teresa Del Tasta, second grade teacher at JFK. Teresa is in her 20th year at Brewster, 30 years in the field of education. She started at Brewster in 1998, moving to Carmel from Yonkers, and had been working in Co-op City in the Bronx. She applied and was hired as a special education teacher. She feels very fortunate to have spent the last 20 years at the Brewster School District. She's also worked with Putnam Recreation Programs and Rehabilitation. This organization provides children and adults that have disabilities in our county with social and recreational activities. In retirement, Teresa plans on hiking and kayaking on the Lake Champlain house in the lake there, and being a grandma to both Kinley and Colton. Teresa has many fond memories of her time at Brewster. And she remembers nervously walking into JFK the very first time, 20 years ago. And now she's leaving with so many lifelong, strong, lasting friendships and relationships. And that's what she thinks Brewster is about, building those strong relationships. Teresa would like to say thank you to everyone who encouraged and supported her over these 20 years. Congratulations, Teresa. Next, Mary Smith. Mary Smith is a first grade teacher in special education at JFK. Are you noticing a trend here? Mary has worked in the Brewster schools for 36 years, and she's been in education for 37. Her first year was in the Mount Pleasant Blythedale School, Special Act for Disabled Students in Valhalla. She started in Brewster in 1982. Her first year in Brewster, she was a BOCES employee, and then Brewster decided to open up its own special education program, and she jumped at the opportunity. Mary had been at Garden Street for many years, and then transitioned nervously over to JFK, and found it was a seamless transition. Mary's only career has been in education. She actually began volunteering as a teenager in facilities for the developmentally disabled and emotionally disturbed. And she noticed that would be her career at the right age of 15, and has followed that passion ever since. Retirement plans include being a grandma for the first time to her older son, and helping to plan a wedding for her younger son. She plans on doing quite a bit of traveling around the country and abroad, and she's looking forward to spending a lot of time with family and friends. Mary has so many fond memories of Brewster, she states that it's hard to pick one or two. One of the many things that stands out are all the amazing relationships that she has formed with colleagues and Brewster families. There have been many students who have now returned with their own children over this time. It's amazing to hear about their successes. She remembers closing Garden Street and now how difficult that was, but transitioning to JFK really was not as difficult as she anticipated. But she attributes that to the amazing teachers and staff that she works with. She loved every minute of working in Brewster and will take with her all the wonderful memories and friendships that will last forever. Congratulations, Mary. And lastly, Margie Murray. Margie is a second grade teacher aide at JFK, and I've had the pleasure of working with Margie both Seton Stark and at JFK. Margie's worked throughout the halls of Brewster Schools for 26 years, and she has worked in education for 31. Before coming to the Brewster Schools, Margie worked for 5 years at the Green Chimney School. And before that, her prior job before coming into education was working for Fruit of the Loom. No kidding, I said that. Margie was so happy that Brewster was hiring, even happier that she was chosen in the field of special education. Her 5 children have gone through the district, and it was a great way to keep eyes on them while they were in school. Margie has many fond memories of working here in Brewster. All the friendships that grew into being, she feels that this is her second family. And you'll know what that means in a second. Margie has learned so much while working with such great professionals. I'd like to thank everyone for all of the support, encouragement, and love. Margie's retirement plans are this. Margie will be spending time with her wonderful family. That includes 6 siblings, 5 children, 15 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. Hopefully she and her family will visit Ireland and Italy one day. She would love to see where her husband's parents grew up and enjoy the cultures of both countries. Congratulations.
I have the privilege of congratulating Mrs. Karen Kellogg on her retirement tonight. Mrs. Kellogg joined us last July as the assistant principal at CD Star, coming to us with an extensive administrative experience in several districts. Mrs. Kellogg immediately became involved in Brewster beyond CD Star as an administrative representative to the Brewster Community Task Force, which was a significant commitment given the number of night events and in which we were discussing some pretty difficult issues. In her time here, Mrs. Kellogg has worked to refine some practices at CD Star, most recently conducting a detailed analysis of student behavior data in an effort to inform practices and future procedures. Mrs. Kellogg has also led a committed PBIS team within the building, a group that consistently works towards improving the learning environment for students and staff. On behalf of the administration, we wish her nothing but the best in her retirement, and we thank her for her service to Brewster.
Eileen McElvenna, also known as Eileen Mack, is a cherished member of the high school special education teaching community. She has served in the Brewster community for 23 years and is retiring after a number of years serving our students in the Career Skills program at the high school. She is known by the students and also her colleagues in the high school as being known as the go-to person for the Career Skills program. She's always been a dedicated team player who treats her students like they are her own children. And she has always made a mark. The other day they had a beautiful retirement party in which she was celebrating with one of the students who's also exiting, and you can see the bond. And so the students are deeply going to miss her, as will all of us, and we'd like to thank her for her years of service to the district. Patricia Trish Kraft is retiring after 24 years here in the district. We will also miss her deeply. She started as a part-time clerical aide in 1994 and moved to a full-time clerical position in 2003 in the high school guidance department. Since 2013, she has been helping us in the PPS office and has been of tremendous support in our collective efforts to support our students with special needs. Trish is looking forward to spending time with her daughters, traveling to Asheville, sleeping in, and catching up on all the books that she has not been able to read. So congratulations, Trish. Michelle Keene retired this past August 2017 after 25 years in the district, 16 of which were in special education. We are grateful for all of Michelle's dedication and commitment to supporting the PPS office and her sincere concern for students with special needs. We wish her the best in her retirement.
Good evening. The first retiree I would like to talk about is not here this evening, but his name is Patrick Moriarty. He's been with the school district 34 years. He started a year after I graduated high school. Pat is known for many things. One of his passions is the blues and the harmonica. So he hopes to do that in his retirement and visit both his sons who are in the military. So congratulations and wish you well back. Second person who is also not here is Anthony Chiarello. He's been with the Brewster Schools 19 years, hired full-time in February 98. His whole career has been at JFK. He has also a side job, landscaping and snow plowing, and I believe in his retirement he is enjoying his grandchildren in Florida. So congratulations and good luck with your retirement. Wendy Wapchnak. Years of service with the Brewster Central Schools, 23. 11 of those were with the custodial department. Wendy is enthusiastic, energetic, and passionate about her job. Wendy, I have a pair of Wendy's actually work in this building. We call them the pair that could be any full house in the district. They are a great pair of workers. My two favorite thoughts whenever I enter the school is Wendy always runs up to me and tells me, I love my job, I love my job, I love my job. And the other thought I always have is, what color hair will she have? Wendy, I wish you all the best. Congratulations.
There are some staff members from the Transportation Department who retired. They're not present, but we nevertheless want to make sure that we reference their names. It's Mr. John Erickson, who's a retired mechanic, retired in July of last year. Mr. Joseph Neves, who's a school bus driver full-time. He retired in June. His retirement date is June 22nd. And then Deborah Palmales, who was a mechanic and a bus driver, who retired. Her retirement was effective last August. And I believe that those are that was the last group. So could you give them a round of applause? So congratulations, retirees. Could we embarrass you one more time and ask you to come up to please be recognized in front and for us to shake your hands.
Okay, that's what I want.
One more round of applause as they exit.
And there's more to celebrate. The Brewster High School Girls Varsity Lacrosse.
To recognize the athletes, the coaches that have played, performed, and achieved in an outstanding fashion and represented our school and our greater community very, very well. I would first like to speak about our varsity girls lacrosse team, the Section 1 Class C champions, the New York State Class C Southern Region champions, and the New York State Class C semifinals. This is the team in the true sense of the word. When one person is having a tough day, another person picks them up. When one offensive person is stopped, another one gets them going. If the defense is having a tough moment, the goalie is there. Congratulations, ladies, on your accomplishments. To those community members that have helped you begin to grow your skills and your current coaches that have refined them, we have developed a strong, diverse, and opportunistic team. I'd like to just have Coach Padillo, who's going to introduce the players, but I also want to thank Coach Hirschman, our JV coach, who helped along the way. And no truth to the rumor, she didn't get any rashes at Syracuse alumni going to Cortland. We had Coach Olberg here, volunteer assistant at Cortland grad, national champion there. As soon as she got back on campus, she put the red and white on already. So it was pretty cool. And it was a thrill for me, being a Cortland alumnus, to have the ladies, me be an athletic director up there. It was really a thrill. So here's Coach Padillo. He's going to introduce the team, and Brewster grad and Coach of the Year. So I want to congratulate her.
Alright, so I'm just going to announce the girls. I'm a little bittersweet right now. I guess it's the last time I'll announce these 20 individuals all together, but just take a step forward, ladies. Danielle Heinz, Danny Regan, Tara Regan, Juliana Ramsey, Maggie DePauli, Lauren Kraft, Megan Beal, Samantha DeLeo, Michelle Fayen, Haley Radajak, Grace Pastori, Haley Bowser, Jillian Cunningham, Jane Cinta, Marina Souza, Ashley Goodliff, Leah Frey, Megan Feehan, Chelsea Steer, and Nicole Cusinelli. I just wanted to say thank you to all, our entire community. The send-off that we had going up to states was unbelievable, and it's something that we will never, ever forget. These are an amazing group of girls. It has truly been my honor to coach them, and we are definitely going to miss our 6 seniors. But thank you so much for the entire community for all your support this season. It's been great. We have felt the support from everywhere, all over the district. So thank you so much.
Ladies, one more time, I'd like to say thank you, congratulate you on your achievements, your team success, and how you brought the community together was really fantastic. And I have to say, at every game, even in Cortland, our fans outnumbered all our opponents. So this goes to sing, Brewster travels well. We appreciated the season. The last 2 weeks have been full of great things, and we're proud of your accomplishments. Thanks again.
Coach Padillo and team, could you walk past us, please, so we can shake your hands? Oh, This is lacrosse royalty.
I'd like to call down our next honoree with his coach, this is Grant Cuomo, and Grant Cuomo. So let me just start out by saying Grant Cuomo is the first wrestling champion for Brewster High School, and he is the New York State 170-pound champion. So this year, while wrestling for a chance to be ranked number 3 in the United States, at a prestigious invitation-only meet, Grant hurt his elbow. As the season progressed, he followed doctor's orders and rehabilitated. But at one point in the conversation, I distinctly remember this, between the two of us, he was going to just shut it all down. But then he was cleared to participate. And this is, mind you, really close to the end of the season. So we applied for and were granted a medical waiver by Section 1, and he was ready to wrestle in the final home meet. He wrestled well in divisionals and qualified for the sectional tournament. He wrestled in the sectional tournament, and he won, and he qualified for the state tournament. He won 2 qualifying matches on day 1 of the tournament and qualified for day 2. He won his first match and advanced to the state final. Down on points with 49 seconds left to go in the final period of the state championship match, Grant made his move on his opponent, ultimately pinned him, winning the New York State championship. In addition, this season, Grant was the recipient of the Con Edison of the Athlete of the Week Award, and at the annual Con Edison of the Athlete of the Week Award dinner, he was awarded a scholarship named the Dr. Charles J. Blanford Scholarship for Perseverance. And Grant, we congratulate you on your hard work, and I just want to let Coach Luby say 1 or 2 things like he promised. I hope.
All right, thank you. As the night went on, I kept deleting stuff from what I wrote. At the Con Ed Award, there was a speaker, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said, don't dwell on the past and think about the future all the time. I know work. Gene Wool would always say, don't wish the week away. We can't wait till Friday. We can't wait till we're on vacation. Can't wait till Coach Luby stops speaking. So with that said, I really appreciate took to that, and I'm taking everything in now. The last state champion from Putnam County was 17 years ago. That was Joe Mazurko from Impact High School. This is a huge accomplishment for Grant. He's put Brewster on the map at the state level. He's ranked top 10 in the country, and I wish him all the best as he continues his career at Princeton, where I know he will be pursuing an NCAA Division I title one day. Dan Gable once said, once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. Grant has persevered and has tremendous dedication. The lessons he has learned on the mat will follow him throughout his life. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. Best of luck, Grant. Congratulations. You will be missed. Congratulations to Grant Cuomo.
recognition of Eagle Scouts.
This year we have 2 Eagle Scouts. You don't know, it's been a long couple of weeks. Peter Arnold has been in Brewster Troop 1 for the past 7 years. Before that, he was in Brewster Pack 119 for 4 years, operating out of Carbon Street. So he's been in scouting since he was 7 years old in first grade. He has held several leadership positions, including patrol leader at age 10, troop guide, and senior patrol leader when he was a junior at Brewster High School. 2 of his best skills, besides leading, are knot tying and orienteering. Orienteering he does with through ROTC. He's been regular up at summer camp at the Adirondacks at Camp Reed for 8 summers straight. One of his favorite scout experiences is the summer of 2016 at Reed when his troop won the coveted Wabika Award for the first time in decades under his leadership. He also loves going on the high adventure down to Florida Keys, BSA's Sea Bass, where his troops spent a week on the island, living survivor style and swimming with the sharks. He is now an adult leader with the troop and will help out when available and on break from Seton Hall. A couple weeks ago, he was a highly honored and decorated at the National Junior ROTC Awards ceremony. So congratulations. Matthew Sickney. Joined Cub Scouts when he was in first grade in 2006 as part of Brewster Cub Scout Pack 119. As a Cub Scout, he received the highest award a Cub Scout receives, the Arrow of Light Award. He then joined Boy Scouts with Brewster Troop 1 in 2012 when he was in 6th grade. So Matthew has been involved in scouting for 12 years. As a Boy Scout, Matthew was voted by his peers to become a member of the Order of the Arrow, which is the honor society for the Boy Scouts of America. He was selected by the leaders of Brewster Troop 1 to attend the National Youth Leadership Training Course, where he spent a weekend camping and learning how to become an effective leader. He also has gone on many camping trips, which include hiking and the trek to Mount Marcy, the highest peak in New York State. Matthew has held many leadership positions in Brewster Troop 1, which include patrol leader, troop guide, quartermaster, and most recently, senior patrol leader. For his Eagle Scout project, he constructed and built a regulation-sized horseshoe pit and a fire pit for the Brewster Elks Lodge 2101. He received his Eagle Scout rank on January 11th, 2018. He plans to continue with Brewster Troop 1 as a leader in American education. Matthew plans on attending college to further his education. He plans on majoring in adolescent education for either biology or chemistry. He's also planning to get his master's degree in adolescent education with a certification in special ed, and hopefully he'll have a career teaching middle school or high school when he finishes Mount St. Mary College. Congratulations.
Okay, and now we'll take the time to recognize our Olympics of Visual Arts.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Danielle Nicolini. I'm the art teacher at CD Star, and For 10 years now, we have been attending the Olympics of Visual Arts. This was my first year not attending, as I had my baby girl 3 days before the competition. But I had a wonderful group of parents who stepped up to the plate, and our assistant principal, Karen Kellogg, that went on the trip and were able to orchestrate the day without me. I did send an entire binder with like 50 pages of notes, but it all worked out, and I believe they were texting me all day on the couch. It was the day after I got home from the hospital. So we were really fortunate to participate in the Olympics again this year. I had a wonderful group of students who started with their research, as always. This is a great project-based learning kind of experience where they're able to work collaboratively in a group to solve a long-term art problem starting in October and working all the way up into the competition in April. This year we sent 2 groups, the illustration and fashion groups, and they were the epitome of a successful team. The groups, I will proudly say, scored a perfect score in both of their areas. Including the projects that we worked on from October, and also the illustration group who created a spontaneous problem there that day within the hour and a half. The illustration group this year had to create an illustrated idiom, and they chose fast food. So as you can see on the slides here, they're running a marathon, and they're all the different food characters that they created, and a little bit of their personalities are kind of coming out in each one. They also had to solve a spontaneous problem. All we're given is a list of supplies to bring with us, and they're given the problem and given 1 hour, an hour and a half to work together to solve that, and they were able to get a perfect score on that as well this year. You can see by the smiles on their face, they were very proud of themselves as well. The fashion design group, rather, is a little bit more of a competition in the fact that they have to also perform. And art is usually this very quiet, to ourselves moment. And this group has to get up there in front of the entire population at the competition and perform for 60 seconds and wear their art. The fashion can only be created out of paper products, so they have to make it pretty strong and be pretty delicate with their movements. But you can tell by all these slides, they kind of created an entire fashion show this year rather than just one garment. And they were given an extra special honor in that the judges chose them to re-perform for the entire program at the end of the day. Which only goes to 3 groups, 1 from elementary, 1 from middle school, and 1 from high school. So we knew we were having a good day when that piece of paper was found. Here's some shots that were texted to me of the crowd that day. So you can see they were performing in front of quite a few people. I'm happy to say that they also won first place, and they received a perfect score on both their presentation and their actual artwork. They actually tied with another team, which they just found out when I returned from maternity leave, for first place, but because their presentation was so special, the judges used that as a tiebreaker to give them that first place award. There, I was feeling the love at home, like kind of following, almost like the email chain from the lacrosse game on Friday, like what's going on and how the day was going. I felt very involved in the moment. A few of them have come tonight, and they would love to just share a brief statement about what their experience felt like and working together as a team and things like that. Anyone want to volunteer to go first? All right.
actually take this question and turn it into a living thing, like making it into something that you can touch and feel. I liked working with the group when we had to work together before school every Wednesday, I think. And then we had to go in the mornings and we had to try to get as much done as we can every morning so that we would be finished by the time we got to the competition, since we had so much things in art to create. I really liked working with the group because I didn't know everyone in my group really until we got to the creative arts group, and I really liked working with the different people.
Question a day of the week, because right before I was going on maternity leave, it was like every day, all week, every morning. They were really committed, so.
I had a lot of fun doing this project. It was really cool to see everybody's ideas, because before we even started the project, the first thing that we did was looked at the question and drew what our ideas were. So everybody drew something different, and I thought it was really cool to look at that. And actually all of those drawings are in our binder that we presented to the judges. And I really liked this experience because, like Marley said, how we turned the question into something they could actually touch. I like the part when we performed and me and Caitlin gave the speech.
How did it feel when you were chosen to do it again?
I felt really happy when I was chosen to do it again. It was really fun working together with other people that I didn't really know of, so I got to meet new people and make new friends. And it was fun to make art and share it with the judges, and it was a really great experience.
Great, we have a few fast food creators here.
I really liked making the different characters because we got to help out each other with like mixing colors to paint the characters, molding tinfoil to make them, and it was fun doing the spontaneous problem too because we all had different sections and we all turned questions into something really good and really worthy. I thought that being in creative arts taught me a lot about art and how to mix colors and stuff, and it taught me a lot about how to work with a team.
I just want to reiterate what a great group of students I had and how proud I am of them. And we apologize for not having the art for you, but this was back in April, so it has long gone home. But thank you, and thanks for your continued support of us.
Students, would you come up, please?
Well done.
Okay, moving right along, we've now got our Chromebook one-to-one program and Smart Schools Bond update. Mr. Trelaw, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you, Doug. Wow, that's a really tough act to follow, all of those students and the retirees, so I was actually hoping I would be following the budget presentation. Jazz things up a little bit. So I wanted to share some of the projects that we've been working on throughout the year with the Chromebooks, because this has been really the focal point of providing tools for students to do a lot of the work throughout the school district. So I wanted to start by talking about why Chromebooks. So we started on this project a number of years ago, and the Chromebooks are a inexpensive device. The battery lasts all day. They work on Google Apps, which are an incredible communication and collaboration platform. And automatic updates, they get started right up. So it's a really useful tool to be able to put in the hands of every single student. So it was really, Chromebooks really enabled us to be able to put a device in every child's hand. So with that, we were able to now expand our initial rollout of one-to-one Chromebooks in grades 6 through 12 that we started last year and brought that down to grade 2. Those devices in grades 2 through 5 will stay in the schools, in the classrooms. We will be expanding that down to the students in first grade, as well as in the beginning of this next school year, as well as then expanding it to kindergarten by the end of next school year. That is, again, provided that the everything goes well in the week. So that's what we're hoping for. So a couple things about the new devices that we're purchasing. We have moved on to a Dell 3189, which I know seems a little technical, but what we're looking at is a 2-in-1 laptop. It's a sturdier device. It has Gorilla Glass. It will turn around, so it's not only a Chromebook, but it also functions as a tablet. So the beauty of that is that we have been expanding our Project Lead the Way program in K through 5, and instead of needing to purchase iPads to be able to do the program, the majority of the units do work on the Android tablet, so we can just have the students take those devices, turn them around, and we can provision them that they can be used for all of the programs that are used with Project Lead the Way in those grades. We also are exploring another way to make these devices that much more versatile. We're looking at a tool called VDI, and it's a virtual desktop platform. And what that is the ability to look at a Windows desktop and function and do all the applications that you would normally do on your desktop or full laptop, but be able to do it on a Chromebook or on any device and be able to see those. And what that provides for us is the ability to expand our Project Lead the Way program and summit many other aspects and programs that we're doing, like the Mixcraft, where students are creating music in the middle school, the Scratch, where kids are, and Alice, that are doing programming at the middle school as well. All of those things are able to be done in a virtual environment. So we're still exploring that. That's one of the things that we'd like to do, and that will not only enable us to utilize the same device that the students have and carry with them every day for these other projects, it will allow us to not have to buy laptops and spend the extra money for that. But then, all of these things where a student might be working on a project in the classroom, and instead of having to wait until they get to the class the next day to work on it, they would be able to work on it at home. So really, that's kind of the focus of what we're really pushing for in terms of how we want to see these devices used, the choices we're making, and what we're purchasing, so that it's that much more versatile for those students. A couple things that we've done with the Chromebook program is we've listened to what a number of the parents have said, and that is that while they really want to purchase the insurance to be able to protect them, that we wanted to be able to make it much more cost-effective and also make it a little bit more responsive with the repairs. So instead of dealing with an external insurance company, by insuring it ourselves, we're able to do it much cheaper, as low as $13.75 per year, whereas otherwise they were paying $22 per year, every year, to Worth Insurance. We're able to do this internally. And through that, and with the help of the PTA, we've been able to provide students with cases to further protect that investment that the district has made in the devices. We are also looking to provide parents with a little bit more vision into what their students are doing on the devices. So we know that's a concern that we have. Securely is a tool that filters and monitors all of the traffic that students do on a Chromebook, both in the school and at home. And what Securely now provides is the ability to give alerts to parents, so they get a weekly report that says, hey, this is what your child was doing on the Chromebook while they were at home. And it also provides them with the opportunity to say, well, I know that maybe for your grade level, the district has allowed you to play some games when you're at home, not at school, but I'm going to turn that off until you get your homework done, and then you can turn it back on. So really looking to give that control to parents. And just on that note, if there's any concerns or questions from any parents here that really are interested in, hey, how do you use that? Definitely reach out to the technology office, because we really want to make sure that parents know how to use it and are able to utilize it to its fullest capacity. So these are just some screenshots of some of the filtering, what the reports that you get of every single website. You can get the initial report, kind of gives you an overview, but the report, when you go online, you can see every single site that your child has visited while they were at home. And this is kind of the example of some of the profiles and what they can do in terms of turning specific aspects of the profile and that control on and off while you're at home. They can make it more restricted while at home, but they can't open up any websites that we wouldn't allow in the schools. The other thing that we're really looking to do is provide these other opportunities, not only be able to do some of these programs that they would only be able to do in the classroom on laptops or on desktops at home through the use of DEI, but also there's a lot of opportunities that are missed by not over the summer. And so what we wanted to do was allow students to keep those devices over the summer. We made a website, the Summer Resources for Learning. We're fine-tuning that, getting a little bit more resources on there, and we'll be sharing those with parents throughout the summer. But that's always a place that they'll be able to go to for ideas of, hey, these are things that, whether it's the simple things of using some of the resources that we already subscribe to within the district, and make those available all summer, like MobyMax, Newsela. There's lots of other software subscriptions that we would have available for students. But for students to go beyond and to be a little more creative, whether it's through create a video on Flipgrid, through WeVideo, maybe learn a new coding language, or learn some very basics about coding through code.org or Codecademy. Or even really do some creative things and create a 3D object in Tinkercad. We're looking for students on all of this on the website as a way for them to post information about what they've created, and we really want to celebrate on that site. And if a student is creating anything in Tinkercad, we will print it on the 3D printer when they come back in September. So we're looking forward to seeing some creations that the students make over the summer. The other thing I wanted to share is that over the past 5 months, the district Digital Learning Committee has been meeting, made up of students and teachers from all, and administrators from throughout the district. They came together and we spent a couple of days really digging in and trying to come up with what's that vision of our use for technology in the district. And this is what I'm going to come back to that other one. It was that Brewster's Central School District will engage all learners in authentic problem and project-based learning, inspire and empower them to ask and answer questions of personal and public interest, and be responsible digital citizens. The one thing I remarked and noted about this in the work that everybody did in putting together this vision was that this could be without technology as well. It's really about real authentic learning and providing students with authentic experiences. When we look at the art students that were doing project-based learning, that's some of the things that really are authentic experiences for kids, really get them engaged, and you saw how excited these kids were about being able to work as a team, be able to come up and solve a problem, and those are the kind of things that project-based learning is about. So for those of you that was a great example, because I added a definition here for those to understand, but really seeing what those kids did is a great example of what that problem-based learning is and project-based learning is about. The kind of the focus, something I saw at a workshop this year that I wanted to share. It kind of helps to guide this, and I used this at our committee meeting in our visioning and coming up with that vision. Was this graphic that I think really says a lot. It's about really preparing students for anything. It's not about a specific career. It's not about a specific skill. Anything like that, but there are so many opportunities out there, and we really want to provide our students with those the skills to be able to do whatever they can envision for themselves. Just really quick, the goals that the committee came up with to help achieve that vision are to increase the use of technology-supported problem and project-based learning 10% annually every year. So we're going to really be looking at that and providing professional learning, providing resources, curriculum development to be able to make that happen. Some of the things that we developed or looked at were the specific skills that students need at each grade level to be able to be successful to use these tools, and felt that by creating a K-12 scope and sequence and using that to help say, hey, what should third graders be able to do using technology? And then beginning to use that to inform both our professional learning as well as our curriculum development. The other one is to improve the tools for communication and collaboration by bringing 75% over the next 3 years of our devices into being more agile, being more collaborative, more allowing for more communication. Those are the types of things that are really going to help, and we can do the projects, but we need the tools to be able to make that happen, and that's the other part of the goal. And just really quick, since the topic here on the agenda said also about the smart schools, I just quickly wanted to add a quick summary of where we're at with this. This is going to be presented to the board for the remainder of the smart schools in August, when we have another opportunity to really take some time and look at this. But a number of years ago, the state awarded all school districts a certain amount of money to help bring them up to speed and up to date in terms of technology use within the district. We were awarded over $1.6 million, and some of the funds that we used to purchase Chromebooks to be able to improve the infrastructure came from this Smart Schools bond money. There is actually $180,000 remaining. We got some input from our district digital learning committee on how we felt that should be spent. And just really briefly, this is going to be looking at kind of improving the technology tools in the district to be able to make it a little more agile, a little bit more collaborative for the students and teachers in the classroom. So there will be more on this in August when we present it to the board for them to look at. There will be a 30-day window where parents can have an opportunity to comment on it, and also a public comment period during that time where you'll be able to get a chance to talk more about it. All right, any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least of our presentations and discussion, the informational budget hearing, Mr. Carlson.
Good evening. So this is a requirement of the annual budget process that we have a budget hearing. So we're going to go over some of the changes that were enacted after the May 15th budget defeat, before our May 22nd board meeting. So the first thing, we received encouraging news from our architects at our May 8th meeting, in which they informed us that our capital project budget was trending favorably, and we were able to remove the contingency transfer from the JFK paving project. And with that, we also removed the appropriated fund balance as the revenue source for that. Further, we reduced the civic activities budget by $140,000, which included a full-time senior clerk who oversaw the clerical responsibilities responsibilities of the BCLC program, and also removed the summer education program for our general ed students. With that savings, we then reallocated money to before and after school programs and mental health and drug prevention programs. And again, those are in accordance with the Community Schools Aid Grant. There are certain specific programs for which this money can be used. We were able to restore a social worker at CD Star, which was realized at the time because of the CSEs were completed. And we reassigned a teacher on special assignment from technology to Sunnyvale High School for a net zero cost. At the May 22nd board meeting, we went through the budget and we identified $178,000 worth of budget allocations in non-classroom areas that we're able to reallocate in order to restore 2 more teaching positions. A CB Star teacher, 5th grade, and a teacher at Wells Middle School in English. But I also want to note, as we discussed on the May 22nd meeting, that although the changes have a net zero effect, there actually is effect on the actual operating results for the year, because we're moving money from areas of the budget where they may be spent to areas where they will be spent. So it's something we're going to monitor over the course of next year in preparation for the 2019-20 budget. And now I'm going to ask Ms. Koch to go over class sizes, which were obviously improved as a result of the staffing restoration.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. We don't see any changes at JFK for next year. One thing I would like to note, however, is the kindergarten projected class size. We currently have 182 students that are enrolled in kindergarten at JFK, so that average class size, although it's at the upper end of our policy guidelines, is almost worst case. So we're projecting 200, and as we do every summer, we'll monitor that number closely and make adjustments if we need to. Here we have CD Star. You can, as you probably remember, prior to May 19th, the administrative givebacks allowed for an additional section in 3rd grade, bringing those numbers, class sizes down to about 23 or 24. And what we see with this current budget is the restoration of a 5th grade section. So actually, the students who are in the 4th grade cohort going into 5th grade will see smaller class sizes than they see this year. We also have a restoration at Wells Middle School, and you'll remember that enrollment at Wells next year is projected to increase. So the restoration of an English position will allow for not just decreased class sizes, but also more specialized English support as well. And here we have Brewster High School. What we are doing, as Mr. Carlson mentioned, is shifting some resources within the district to science. So we see that 0.8 science position at the high school will be, and really 1.0 will be devoted to science at Brewster High School. The reason I put 0.8 in here is because we're currently in the process of finalizing the master schedule. So it will either be a 0.8 or 1.0 put back into the high school science department, meaning that there will be just a 1.0 reduction from science. And you can see the class size guidelines are here. Class size guidelines, I should say, are 25 to 30, but here are the projected class sizes. I should also note that this does include the reinstatement of a lab period for earth science. Students will be taking the regions at the end of the school year. And then also, in terms of English, you see a reduction in the number of English sections. That's due to the reinstatement of a block period for 9th grade. So we're not losing any staff there. Again, we're just shifting and reallocating it into a block period.
Thank you. So with that, here's a comparison of the May 15th version of the budget as compared to the June 19th version. As you can see, the June 19th version is $98,062,493, or an increase of 2.75%. The main difference between the May 15th budget and the June 19th budget in terms of dollar amount is the allocation that we had for the JFK paving project, which was removed from the June 19th version of the budget. Again, all the other allocations were reshuffled to say within the expenditure budget, which allowed us to restore some staffing positions. I also want to note that the tax cap for the June 19th budget is 2.22%. That's a number that's set by a formula prescribed by the state. It remains the same from the May 15th version of the budget. So contingent budget, we have talk about contingent budget because now the options are clear. There are two choices, the budget that's being presented on June 19th or the contingent budget. So if the budget is rejected on June 19th, the district must adopt a contingent budget. And under a contingent budget, we're limited in the tax levy increase and must be limited to that of the prior year. So in 17-18, we have a tax levy of $72.5 million. In 18-19, our tax cap allows for a $74.1 million levy. However, if the district went into a contingent budget, that would result in a reduction of $1.6 million from the tax levy. So what is considered contingent? Basically, it's those expenses required to operate and maintain school buildings, preserve property, and ensure the health and safety of students and staff, and the Board of Education determines which appropriations constitute ordinary or contingent expenses. So this is a required communication. You'll see if you haven't received your budget newsletter or budget notice, this is one of the requirements of the state, and then we notify the community of what the implications of contingent budget would be, which includes $1.4 million worth of expenditure reductions, including 2 bus drivers, a senior clerk in facilities, 0.5 middle school meter students, 1 pupil personnel services assistant director, 1 art teacher, 1 music teacher, 1 math teacher, 1 intermediate school teacher, 1 middle school teacher, certain extracurricular clubs, certain athletic programs, certain electives and advanced placement courses, certain student supplies, unreimbursed community use of facilities, as well as equipment purchases and repairs. And it would also include the additional use of $218,000 of more fund balance in order to prevent further reductions. So I want to note with this list that careful consideration is given to this list, and $1.1 million worth of reductions outside of the classroom were identified before any decision were made in order to affect the classroom. So, we really took a calculated approach and went at this with a scalpel and did the best that we could to limit the damage in the unfortunate event that we went to a contingent budget. So, again, there are 2 options. The contingency budget you see on the right is $96,672,000, an increase of 1.29%. And again, the tax levy associated with that is the same as that of the 17-18 year, $72.5 million, an increase of 0%. So on June 19th, we have our budget vote. Please come out to vote. Encourage your neighbors and friends, relatives. Come out to vote. No further action is required with regard to proposition number 2. It passed on May 15th. And again, if the budget is not passed on the 19th, the Board of Education must adopt a contingency budget as described. So this information is available on our website. All of our past presentations are available on our website. Our budget statement, I highly encourage you to take a look at our budget statement. I know it's long, it's like 96 pages, but if we can get through the first 10 pages, it's well worth it to give you a better understanding of the challenges that we face and the factors that are impacting our budget for next year. And again, on our website are all of our past presentations, including our presentation from last week, and this presentation this evening will be up on the website tomorrow. Any questions?
Questions in the audience? Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Okay. Oh, okay. So now we move on to your consideration of action items, and the first of which is the approval of the bus bond approved on May 15th by qualified voters of the Brewster Central School District. And I guess that's Mr. Carlson again.
Yes, this is a formal acknowledgement and acceptance of the results of the proposition number 2 vote, which will allow us to move forward with the purchase of the school buses.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Questions or comments sorry, I need a motion first. Thank you, Ms. O'Brien, Ms. Masika. Questions or comments from the board? This is a roll call vote?
I believe so.
Yes, indeed. So, Ms. Gavin will march us through that, please.
Ms. McCall, you vote? Yes. Ms. Cunningham, you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Giammo, you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Masika, you vote? Yes.
Yes.
Ms. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Gavin. Action item number 2 concerns the approval of a resolution for Special Patrol Officer, SPO, between the Brewster Central School District and the Putnam County Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Is, Fanny, come on. This is our, we hope at the end of this board meeting, the SPO for CD Star. This gentleman has been a police officer for 30 years. He retired from the Kent Police Department. He has extensive experience also being a deputy sheriff, as well as a correction officer. He comes highly recommended. I met with him along with Ms. Cherry, Ms. Gosh, Ms. Cullivan, and Mr. Carlson. He will be a wonderful fit for CD Star Intermediate School. He really understands the role of an SPO, and an SPO is only slightly different. The difference is he has the luxury of having been retired. We do not pay his health care costs because he is retired. He will be in full regalia tomorrow. He will carry a weapon and all the other objects associated with his armory. And he will be a wonderful addition to Brian, Mike, and Matt, who are already here. The wonderful thing about him coming on board and being trained and fully ready to start tomorrow is that he will be here for the remainder of the school year, meaning until June 22nd, giving him an opportunity to be acclimated to CD Star Intermediate School, get to know the students and staff, and I can guarantee you they're going to love him. So welcome, and I hope that you approve the resolution this evening.
Okay, it's a little odd, our sequencing here, but bear with us. So I'll need a resolution, please, for your consideration of this action item. Thank you, Mr. Call, seconded by Mary Kay. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, the motion passes, and we will indeed see you tomorrow morning. Action item number 3 concerns the approval of re-registration of all students, updated registration documents, and draft student admissions policy, and I'm trusting that's yours.
Actually, Dr. Merrick, want to share it?
Okay, fine. Sounds good to me.
So another committee update, one that I failed to mention in my opening comments, was the Residency Task Force, which was a committee of 55 members representing parents, some members of the board, district staff. We met on May 23rd to discuss some of the issues in the district surrounding our residency and registration practices. And the 3 goals of the committee meeting were to update or to review a draft of the student admissions policy. Also to take a look at our registration form so that we can see if there's an opportunity to strengthen the types of documents that we're able to accept. And we were assisted by Tony Olivo, Director of Investigative Services from Corporate Screening and Investigative Group. We were also joined by our attorneys that evening, and we discussed the plan to re-register our students, which is being discussed this evening.
In terms of the re-registration process, we actually had the benefit of working with all the documents used in one of the districts that engaged in a re-registration process a few years ago. The steps that we've outlined include the following. We will first notify all of our parents through robocall and bear backpack and text messaging that they should expect a re-registration letter shortly. Not now, but when we actually start, that'll be the first step. We'll also include in that letter that parents who recently registered their kindergartners would also have to re-register them. And this is the effort is to detect as well as to eradicate any potential residency fraud. The letter reference will notify parents that if they're not able to attend an information meeting, we will be creating an FAQ document that will distribute through Bear's Backpack that will include very important information for those parents. And they can also call our central registrar, Ms. Donna Morey, if they have questions beyond that. Regardless of how long the family's been in the district, they must be registered in person, submitting proof from the proposed residency registration list that's attached to this proposal. The form that they have to complete prior to their actual appointment has to also accompany will be accompanied by documents that they bring with them to that re-registration meeting. The process will start on July 2nd and go until August 31st initially, and then parents may re-register all their children at once by appointment only, and that's between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and then 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday. Approximately 4 to 5 trained registrars who currently work in the district will be available in the boardroom, and this re-registration will occur at the central office in the boardroom. There will be appointments available multiple times during the same day and hour. It's expected that each appointment would probably take between 15 to 20 minutes if all of the documents are in order and all from this proposed list. Appointments will be made using an online application system called You Can Book Me. It's a fairly easy application to use, and instructions will be provided in the re-registration information that we send to parents. After August 31st, a limited number of day appointments will be available, and Mrs. Morey will be the person who will be able to assist with that re-registration if parents are not able to make any of the times available from July 2nd to August 31st. In addition, evening hours will be available again by appointment only between the hours of 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., Monday through Thursday until Friday, September 28th. Infinite Campus, which is our student information system, will be flagged to indicate re-registration has been completed when it's determined that all the documents are in order. If residency documents are considered suspicious, these documents will be referred to Tony Olivio, who was the gentleman from the investigative service that spoke to the task force when we met on the 23rd. Will actually initiate a residency fraud investigation. Reports from Infinite Campus will be reviewed at the end of each week to determine who hasn't come in to be re-registered. After 2 attempts have been made, one through registered letter, the other through our courier service to contact parents who we've not heard from, whether they actually did not make an appointment or they didn't keep an appointment. We'll make every attempt, but it'll only be twice. And then 1 week after the courier letter has been delivered, we will then disenroll the children. But again, we'll try everything to avoid that, but after reasonable outreach, we have to assume that potentially they're not no longer in the district. The residency task force will meet once per month. The next meeting is actually June 25th. We'll provide any updates that we have. At the end of the re-registration, a report from the residency task force will be prepared and shared with the Board of Education, reviewing the outcome of the investigations of any residency fraud that's detected and any other recommendations from the group, and obviously Mr. Olivo, who we'll still be consulting with, to strengthen the registration process, student admissions policy, and the acceptable proofs of residency. The list that we provided, our legal counsel has reviewed it, and obviously the goal of the re-registration is to tighten up the types of documents or proofs that we actually accept. And so we do need legal counsel advice on how do we use documents that we know are strong and eliminate those, or I should say not eliminate, but avoid those at the same time that we follow the state's guideline. And Mr. Pettigrew, you can certainly chime in and share your advice to the board.
So anyway, no, I'm sorry. So New York State the Commissioner's Office several years ago adopted modifications to the regulations of the Commissioner of Education and kind of put forth a non-exhaustive list of documents that school districts shall consider. What it did not do, however, is it did not specify which documents are more important than other documents. So I think it's probably within the board's discretion to rely on documents, for example, a lease, a deed, a mortgage, homeowner's insurance, those kinds of documentation certainly have more weight, and you could certainly consider that. It's just that you can't just simply eliminate, well, we're not going to consider. If someone doesn't have that and they come forward with the documents, you still have to at least consider it, but you can make a determination whether it's suspicious or not, and and then in your residence type investigation. So I think as far as the strength of the documentation, that's probably something that Board of Education can require, but you just can't say, well, we're not going to consider these other documents that are on the list that the Commissioner of Education specifically mandates you must consider. Any questions from board members on that?
Wait, we have to do a motion first before we can ask questions, Steve?
Okay. So that we can continue the discussion. May we please have a motion for your consideration of this action item? Thank you, Ms. Cobb. Thank you, Mary Kay. Now, questions or comments, please?
My first question is exactly what we're voting on tonight. Is it the approval of the re-registration that Dr. Henning just described? Or is it also that and the updated documents and draft admissions policy?
They're all part of, they're all together because the re-registration will depend upon the documents that we're proposing that are used for homeowners and for renters. So the policy will have to be adopted. You'll have to decide how you're going to handle the types of proofs of residency that we shall consider, and some of those we have removed from the original list. We removed voter registration. We removed what are the other two?
Income tax.
Income tax, and third one. The library card we never accepted, but that's not on the list at all. And the reason why those documents are not on the list, we consulted, Victor and I, with the investigator, and basically those documents don't mean if the person actually resides at the residence, which is why he considered those to be weak documents. You could have registered the vote, many years ago and been at that residence and moved. The same applies to the voter registration and those other documents. Pay stubs and those which don't necessarily mean a person lives at the residence that's listed. So that's why we decided to go ahead and take those off in terms of providing with a document that has strengthened forms of proof rather than those that are potentially not ones that specify that a person lives there. So you would have to make a decision tonight on all of these items, starting with how you want to handle which documents we actually accept and place into the various boxes. The other thing that we did was to provide, for clarity purposes, the homeowner documents and the renter documents. So the homeowner documents that we're proposing from two categories, and that applies to both homeowners and renters. Two forms of proof, one from Category A and one from Category B, Category A are always the stronger documents that are just essential because your mortgage statement, if you're a homeowner or a deed, is a high mark for proof. And then category B would be a utility bill, again, no older than 45 days, pardon me. A state or government issued identification, a homeowner's insurance policy, if there's a child custody issue involved, the evidence of custody of the child with a corresponding address, documents issued by a federal, state, or local agencies, that would be social services, and then the homeless documents. And in terms of renters, we ask that they provide 3 forms of proof, 1 from category A and 2 from category B. The category A proof would be a residential lease that's signed and, with the current lease, along with a rent receipt signed by the landlord within the last 30 days. That comes together. You have to do both of those if you choose A under that category, and then or B, which would be a statement by a third-party landlord, owner or tenant from whom the person the parent or the person in parental relation actually leases. And then the renter would also select 2 from category B. And again, it's very similar to the category B list for homeowners, the utility bill and so forth, state ID, state-issued government ID, renter's insurance policy, the custody document, the federal document, and then the document stating homeless status. So those are the documents that we have been advised are the strongest form. And as I said, this would be easier for anyone who's registering or attempting to register their child to understand exactly what we require. But if your suggestion is that we add the others, then that's what we would need in order to proceed with the next phase of this. So it starts with this list, and then the policy itself, and then the re-registration process.
Just one thing on the category A for proof for homeowners. You have the mortgage statement, the deed. Should C be the original land tax bill? Should that be separate, a tax bill or receipt? It seems like it's next to deed, but it's not the same thing. So should there be A, B, and C under category A?
I see what you're saying.
And
so
C,
separate out the original tax bill. That's item C.
And I think it may be tax bill or receipt.
Okay.
I get a receipt because I escrow, so I don't pay it, so I don't get a bill.
Okay, tax receipt. I'll change that.
Right. But then you still have the 2 other choices.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I just have a question, which I think probably is more for Mr. Pettigrew, but it seems that under the commissioner's regulations, they give a list of documents that the district can consider or has to consider. And it seems that it says that that list has to include all of the examples. It doesn't have to be limited to it, but that it says shall include, but not limited to, all examples of documentation listed in the subdivision. So while I agree that many of these things, certain of these things are better proof than others, I'm concerned that if we don't list it all, then we're violating that provision. And I would suggest that it could be done under category B by saying the following documents will satisfy the proof required, and then maybe have A through F here. And then it would be the following documents will be considered and may satisfy. It's pretty clear in the statute that whether we like it or not, these things the district has to consider. It doesn't mean that it proves the residency. But I don't think that we can say, we're not taking your driver's license. Because a driver's license is specifically listed by the commissioner as something that can be used as proof. Not conclusive proof, but proof. So I have concerns about the category B sections under both, because it doesn't include the whole list.
Carrie, I had the same concern, and I like how you listed it, because I was thinking maybe, even just at the bottom saying, here are some other items that may be considered, but I like your version, the way you described it better.
Well, at the residency meeting, I mean, it was definitely discussed that certain of this information is more, I mean, it's better than others. We know that. But under the statute, under the regulations, I don't think we have the option of not listing them. We have the option of whether or not to accept them.
That's a great
Or maybe it triggers a red flag. If you use that other option, it immediately goes to residency investigation because it's not strong enough proof.
What did the other districts that we're modeling after, did they list all those additional?
Well, I mean, some do and some don't. And, I mean, you know,
It differs by district, but the regulations are the regulations.
yeah.
And you can't go over them.
I mean, Lakeland excludes a driver's license. A driver's license is listed in the commissioner's regulations as proof.
It's not conclusive.
To be
as you
considered.
mentioned, it's not conclusive proof, it just says that you shall consider it.
You know, while the comparison with the other districts is super useful and interesting, I'm not really on board to do something just because Lakeland's doing it. So that was one concern that I had, and it goes for category B under both. And the other question that I had is under category A for the renters. B, it says a statement by a third-party landlord. Can we require a notarized statement?
It says, I think it says that underneath. Double
Oh, I'm
access.
sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it says.
I think it's mentioned there.
And the footnote.
Under the asterisk? Okay. And the other thing under proof for the renters under category A is I think there's another way, I guess, of proving that you are a renter or a resident renter under the regs, which is it says such other statement by a third party, it's horribly written. Such other statement by a third party relating to the parent or person in a parental relation's physical presence in the district. I mean, it seems as if that there may need to be a C there. If you look at 100.2 Y3 little I B.
That one refers to when a parent gives parental rights to another family member or person, correct? That's that one?
So it's it definitely is separate. The first one is a residential lease. Okay, we know what that is.
But I think the resident piece is still separate. Doesn't that have to do with who's, the letter just says who the child resides with, but the residency of the person is still based on those other factors. Okay.
Well, these are. I thought that this was documentation to establish residency. And it says a copy of a residential lease or proof of ownership of a house. Okay, we have that covered under A. Then B, a statement by a third-party landlord, owner, or tenant. That's covered in B under renters. But then there's 3. Such other statement by a third party relating to the parent or person in a parental relation's physical presence. So I don't know if that means I'm someone's aunt and she's living with me. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but it just seems like it's another.
It's not defined in the regulation, and I agree that it's poorly drafted, but presumably it would mean, as you point out, it could be a non-person in parental relationship to the child, but indicating that they're physically residing in this house or apartment.
Right. But would that be covered under category A, part B, because it says, or a person in parental relation leases.
But I think that's specific to the lease. says established by a third-party landlord, one owner, tenant from whom the parent or person in parental relation leases.
Yeah.
So that's like saying a parent, or I live with my aunt, okay, now you have to show your aunt's lease. This section 3 doesn't relate necessarily to a lease or.
It could be an emancipated minor who is living with a third party who is not a person in a relationship. And who is, or, whether a custodian, parent, or guardian, it could be that individual. Although presumably, whether that third party owns the property or not is I think that would distinguish it from an actual landlord.
Right. So I don't know because I'm really not clear on what that means, but.
May I interject? It seems at this point in the discussion, in answer to your first question, actually, we really don't have a clear idea what it is we're voting on.
Well, I think that piece we do, but just some of the language.
That is instrumental to our understanding.
We have to make a motion to change the language, right, Steve?
Hmm?
We would, if we're discussing changing the language, we would then need a motion to pull the language out, change it. Does that make sense?
Well, it's up to you. Do you feel you know what you're voting on or not? You have documentation that specifies what it is you're voting on.
It's suggesting to take it as well as.
Right?
What does that do with our timeline as far as the school year?
Well, our last board meeting is the 26th, and if we want to start the registration, that's the last opportunity. So I propose that if you want legal counsel to look at this and adjust it and then bring it back on the 26th, and then make sure that all the corresponding documents reflect, what you're proposing that we do, which, as if I am hearing you correctly, you want to, which I think is a good solution, identify another category. The following will be considered, and will satisfy the requirement. I think adding that protects us. Rather than leaving it out and risking, an audit.
Well, and I think you can point out that these, A through F will satisfy the proof required by category B, and the following documents will be considered and may satisfy. And that way it leaves it open if we think it's fake or whatever, then you don't have to accept it.
Right.
And since we're making notes, just two questions. Your statement, Carrie, on that B, and Michelle, or excuse me, Scott, you might be able to help clarify just because we just discussed it in policy. The phrase, it's one phrase, parent or person in parental relation. That's one phrase in parentheses. So if you read the statement, a statement by a third-party landlord, owner, or tenant from whom the parent leases or with whom they share the property. So what was making it confusing until I heard this explained, it's parent or person in parental relation. That's one word. So Michelle, Scott, do you want to just clarify that phrase?
It's like guardian.
I'm trying not to say that. It used to be parent or guardian, but now we've had to change that phrase to parent or person in parental relation. So
Right.
that or is the confusing, or person.
Right, I see that under paragraph 2, but it's paragraph 3. It has that same language, but I still just don't understand what it means. Such other statement by a third party relating to the guardians, if you're going to insert that word,
with whom they share
physical
the
presence in the district. So I guess it's asking for the guardian to give a statement about.
No, it would be a statement from the landlord.
No, it's 3, not 2. It's not the lease provision, it's the third provision, which I think is addressing if they don't have a lease. I mean, I don't know what the provision means, but it's listed as something that they can provide documentation of. If it's not,
Maybe I'm looking at something else because I'm seeing category A for renters.
yeah, it's not on there. That's why.
That's why.
I'm looking at the comparison.
It's in the commissioner's regulations.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's
Okay.
okay.
There, I think that's what's being referred to. It's a not very well, clearly drafted.
But it's exactly
provision,
working.
but as Carrie's mentioning, yes, that's what it says.
Okay, I'm sorry, excuse me, Dr. Beamer. The question I had is, if attempts have been made, you've answered that, and the parent has been unresponsive, the child is going to be unenrolled, what happens come the first day of school that parent shows up? How would,
With the
with
appropriate
their child that's
documentation.
been unenrolled?
Well, they're not, there's no list of them in Infinite Campus, so they couldn't attend school.
So would that be treated then as, Mr. Carlson, we had mentioned a few meetings ago, the parent shows up and enroll that day, you get the 3-day to check. So that would be as if it's a new student coming into the district?
Correct.
Okay, just checking. So the child, I guess, would still be able to attend on the
On
first
that
day of
very
school?
day.
Okay, just want to make sure that we,
I just have a question in that last meeting, the task force. So the documentation's weak and we choose student investigation, what do we have to prove? Show that they have another address? Or how do we create the case for that?
Well, Victor and I actually asked that question. The investigator does not share their procedures with us. It's a surveillance, it's a document check, so they will do what they do to figure out whether or not someone resides at the address that they say they
I
reside.
guess I'm asking in terms of if they want to fight us somehow on it, what documentation are we required to have to say, no, look here, to whomever?
Will it be surveillance records? So that's when the investigator can run plates, can visit and observe the behavior of the person who is alleging that they are a resident, and provide all of those documents as well as interview people. So they would bring all that forward if in fact, and we have had cases that's actually happened. And that's the basis of legal action.
so then, Steve, can we make a motion to send this?
I ask Ms. Gadd, can we make a motion to discuss it?
Mr. Gall, seconded by Ms. Nielsen.
Okay, so that's Mr. Carl, on behalf of the board, it might be best if you withdraw this to be tabled for the next business session.
Okay, I withdraw my motion, and I would like to table it for the next business session.
And Nielsen seconded. All those in favor? It is tabled until the 26th.
With the revisions to be provided at that time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Action item number 4, concerning the award of contract pursuant to competitive bid, namely the JFK paving project and the general construction contract. That would be Mr. Carlson.
Yes, as Joe Riley from KG&D Architects mentioned earlier, we opened bids for the paving project and also the field project on May 31st. The JFK paving project, KG&D did their due diligence. They're recommending an award of that contract.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Take a motion, please, for your consideration of this action item. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Diane. Questions or comments from the board?
I have a question. So, separating the two, because I know we were trying to keep them together, how does it get coordinated then that there's somebody who?
Yeah, we just discussed this evening. Again, we had an athletics field renovation committee meeting at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And that was one of the things that we discussed. Originally, the bids were structured so that our goal was to award two contracts to the same contractor, because a lot of coordination needs to go into this work. The two sites are so close to each other. With the bid results that came back, which is the next agenda item, with regard to the field projects, the bids exceeded the project budget significantly. So it's their recommendation to reject the bids for the fields project, and we'll now go out and bid it as a separate project. It still is going to require a lot of coordination. It may require a change in some of the logistics in terms of the staging areas. They were originally going to share a staging area near the turf field at the edge of JFK. Now, if there are two contractors, they're going to have different staging areas, which would impact, more land disturbance. Obviously, it's challenging with regard to DEP. So they're going to go out to rebid and hope to have the rebid completed by July 3rd and an award early in July, which again would require a special Board of Ed meeting.
And then how do they just would work together? Do we require meetings with you, for example, to see how they're reporting their efforts?
Well, KG&D would be responsible for overseeing the work as they have been on all of our projects. So it would definitely require more coordination and choreography, but we would be able to do this. It would just be a little more challenging. Also, there's a requirement on the level of land disturbance, so we need to make sure that one isn't going faster than the other and that they are able to restore the land that they're disturbing. Again, it's challenging when you're dealing with more than one contractor. But it is possible that the contractor that's being awarded the paving project, they have an opportunity to bid on this other work. They know that the price that they provided was unacceptable, and hopefully they'll come back with a lower price.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Action item number 5 concerns probably the other half of the question. Rejection of bids and authorization to rebid athletic fields repair project. Different project. Okay, so that's you, Mr. Carlson, please.
Yes, as I mentioned, the original bid was structured to receive bids for both projects. The athletic field repair project bids came in significantly higher than budget, and our architects are recommending that we reject those bids and rebid.
Right, that makes sense. We'll take take a motion, please, for your consideration of this action item. Thank you, Ms. Masika. Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Questions or comments from the board concerning this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Action item number 6 concerns the approval of a change order, actually change orders, plural, the JFK Select Abatement CO number and JFK Plumbing CO number. Again, Mr. Carlson.
Yes, these are actually both credit change orders. So these are benefits to the district in that they're reducing our contract amount payable to the contractors for the JFK project.
Okay.
Again, part of the reconciliation that took place over the last couple of months by KG&D and also Triton Construction.
Sounds good. We're back up to the Ms. Nielsen and Kakal end of the table. Thank you both. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0.
Actually, I'm going to recuse myself on this because one of the contractors is now a client of mine.
Fair enough. So that would be 6-0, 1 abstention. Thank you. Action item number 7 concerns the approval of health services contracts. These are annual. They're described in your packet. I'll take a motion, please, for your consideration of these renewals. Thank you, Ms. Masika. Ms. O'Brien, questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Action item number 8 concerns the approval of award of contracts pursuant to competitive bid for A, mobile and portable radio systems and emergency notification devices, and B, electrical and natural gas, and finally C, diesel and kerosene fuel. Mr. Carlson.
Yes, each of these items were bid in order to secure the lowest responsible results. The mobile and portable radio system actually allows the transportation department and the facilities department and district-wide radio communications to get on one radio frequency. It also allows for communication over a higher or a larger geographical area, which would assist us when we're transporting some of our students down to Westchester. Item B is electricity, natural gas. We're part of a cooperative consortium called NICEMEC. And in terms of diesel, fuel, and kerosene, we're part of a consortium with some school districts in Rockland County, Westchester County, and Putnam County in order to secure transportation costs of the diesel and kerosene fuel.
Thank you. Okay, and as I mentioned, these are annual. I'll take a bid. Motion, please, for your consideration of this action item. Thank you again, Glenn and Kerry. Questions or comments from the board?
Just to clarify, so it's a 5-year contract?
Correct.
So we don't vote on this again until 5 years?
It's renewable each year annually.
So we can pull out in case we...
Correct, and that's actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the county for the past few years has been considering a county-wide radio program. With that in mind, we made sure to structure this agreement that we'd be able to pull out at the end of the year, which would allow us to then jump into the county's program. So thank you for mentioning that.
Good question and answer. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Action item number 9 concerns the acceptance of the JFK PTA donation for outdoor learning pavilion project. This is an easy one.
Yes, thank you to the PTA for their generosity as always.
Okay, so who's going to make this motion? Okay, thank you. Ms. Nielsen and Ms. McCall. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you to the PTA for their donation. Next page, you see action item number 10, the approval of contract with Putnam County Board of Elections for use of voting machines for the June 19th special meeting and budget vote. Pretty straightforward, huh? No machine, no vote.
That's right.
Okay, so somebody needs to make a motion, please. Thank you, Ms. Masika, and thank you, Ms. O'Brien. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, the motion passes. We'll have a voting machine. Action item number 11, the approval of the SEIU MOA. Ms. Colligan.
This is clarifying language regarding prorated vacation time for 12-month part-time employees.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll take a motion, please, and a second. Sure, try again. Different combination. Glenn and Diane. Keep me on my toes. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Action item number 12 concerns the approval of reduction in force, non-instructional.
This is the reduction of a non-instructional senior clerk position from the 18-19 school budget.
Thank you. Take a motion, please, and a second. Ms. Kakal and Ms. Nielsen, thank you both. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Action item number 13, the approval of disciplinary settlement for employee number 2273. Ms. Culligan, please.
Yes, this is an agreement we came to regarding this employee. It's a disciplinary settlement as we have discussed in executive session.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. We'll take a motion, please, for your consideration of this approval. Thank you, Ms. Callahan, and thank you, Diane. O'Brien, Mr. O'Brien. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Action item number 14, the approval of policy, second read, 4513, 4325, and 4712. And Ms. Gosh is the only one who knows what we're talking about.
Thank you, Dr. Jambor. These policies have been reviewed by both legal counsel and our policy committee, and we put them forward for your acceptance.
Terrific. We'll take a motion and a second, please. And Ms. Masika and Ms. O'Brien. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion passes 7-0. Coming down the home stretch, I think you'll set a record tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for most action items. Approval of resolution in support of the Senate's Protecting Our Schools legislation. Let us know what this is about.
Sure, this is great news from the New York State Senate, which provides resources for school districts to hire SROs, SPOs, to enhance their safety systems, as well as to assist districts in providing services, education, and awareness for mental health of our students. So this was a significant effort on the part of the Senate. It has to obviously be voted, approved by the, put forth to the Assembly and voted on and approved by the Assembly, but the efforts on the part of the New York State School Boards Association, as well as the New York State Council of School Superintendents, has promoted this as an action that each board and each district should take to ensure that we are putting forth our support for this resolution, which will help us.
Absolutely. This is what I was referring to in my opening remarks. The legislation gets the credit for getting the ball rolling. We all need to jump on board and make sure they respond. There is a money piece to this. Talk is cheap. They have to put support into this. I will take a motion, a second, and thank you, Ms. Nielsen and Ms. Kakal. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, the motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Last but not least is action item number 16. It concerns the acceptance of a painting of Mr. Henry Wells, donated by Mr. Paul Rizilke. Oh, sorry? Reisick, thank you.
Mr. Reisick generously made available the painting that's next to the podium, and it's a painting of Mr. Henry H. Wells, the namesake for our middle school. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Reisick contacted me or emailed me, and he indicated that he'd been a resident in the village of Brewster for many years, along with his family, and his great-grandparents were close friends of Mr. Henry H. Wells. When his mom downsized and moved from her home, this painting was still there. He did not want it to end up in a thrift shop or, someplace worse. So he sought to find a home for this painting. And he contacted first the Southeast Museum, and at the time, this is their loss, they weren't accepting any additional artwork of paintings. And so he saw fit to send me an email and ask if we'd be interested in it. And I said we absolutely would be. So he came to the district with the painting at the same time that Eric Gross was there, and he was able to be a part of the Brewster highlights or spotlights video segment, as well as obtain an interview or be interviewed by Eric Gross to talk about the history of his family in relationship to Mr. Wells. His mom was a retired bus driver here in Brewster. We worked here in the 80s and 90s, and Mr. Reisick is a former student here, graduate of Brewster High School. So with gratitude, we thank the Reisick family for contacting us and offering us this painting to celebrate the namesake of Mr. Henry H. Wells. And so I offer this to Mr. Clark, who I'm sure is going to find an outstanding place to place this painting of Mr. Wells.
Another easy one. So we'll take a motion, please, for your consideration of this action item. Thank you, Mary Kay. Thank you, Ms. McCall. Questions or comments? There shall be none. All those in favor, the motion passes 7-0. You can take the So you did set a record of 16 action items. All right. I hope not to be around for the breaking of that record. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. It's rather tiny tonight. We'll take a motion, please, for your consideration of the consent agenda. Down to this end again, Ms. O'Brien and Ms. Cunningham. Thank you both. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? The consent agenda is adopted 7-0. We move now to board remarks and committee updates. Are there any committees? Okay.
Yes. We had, just to follow up from our last meeting, we had a C19 meeting.
Okay, good.
And just to kind of give a brief recap, I thought personally that it was a very productive first meeting.
Great.
And everyone came to the table with an open mind and wanting to just go forward in a very productive way. And a few things were established. One, that everyone was there to discuss, obviously education's the mission, but the students are the center of that, and everyone wants what's best for all students. So that was a good starting point to know that we all have that in common. And we kind of narrowed down after a lengthy discussion a few things to go forward with our next meeting come September. And it was just to work on communication, and then communicating out our priorities and what order those things would live, I suppose. I don't know if anyone else wanted to add anything, but that was kind of a brief gist. But it was very, it was great to have everyone come together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who else on the board was there?
I was there as well, and it was a nice way to set the stage.
Okay.
Where we're going as a district and how we will be working together, determining common goals, and setting parameters for that. In other words, we are going to continue this. This isn't going to be when everybody gets annoyed and then we're going to get together. No, you know what, we're going to work and continue to work through it and for the betterment of the students. So that was really the main takeaway from it, was that it's a continued effort and a continued process.
Sonia, is the idea to meet?
Oh, so the discussion was perhaps every other month. And then there was discussion, which I think we're going to still figure out, but perhaps to have a few, I don't know, staple people, and then just kind of rotate through perhaps other board members, departments. That was kind of discussion, how we can make sure that everyone feels involved in the conversation and informed. Yeah, so.
Okay. Any questions? Oh, yes, Mary Kay?
What I'd like to add is the pamphlets and brochures that I've collected. I'm sure everyone's got a few of them in their pocket. And not to go through all of them, but this is a great season to be celebrating our students. And our
Really is,
students
yep.
are the reason we do what we do when we do it.
Yep.
And what I enjoyed so much through all of these, and I'm sure others would, you see some of the same students, but you see different students. And we're celebrating all the students and all their accomplishments. I think I'm going to say my favorite. I had the privilege of joining and watching the seniors walk the other day. But I got to sit with the kindergartners and to see the smiles on their faces, the littles, and then to see the seniors walking through. It was I walked out of there crying. It was just lovely to see that wonderful, the bookends of, what we do. So I know there was, we all at some point attended all these things, like I said, there's a whole bunch of them, but it was it's been a fun few weeks.
You bet. Thank you, Mary Kay. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we move on to public remarks and information. The floor is yours, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm not going to come up to the mic. You can hear me, I think. I've been to a few of these meetings. I have a graduate of Volusia High School. I have students in the school, in the middle school in City Star right now. And I had some questions about the superintendent's annual evaluation. When I looked at it and I read the paperwork and I looked at the teacher's questions, I am curious how she either got effective or highly effective, or why you rated her that way. Because as a member of this community, I kind of felt like you weren't listening to all of us and everything that we've been saying. Now, you rated her effective in community relations. And when you did that, did you think about how the community felt when the expressed about the video from the summer, how it was handled, the anger over the logo, and the falsehoods that was told to the community at that time? And how was the feedback from the community expressed after the school walkout? Did you include any of those things in her evaluation? Also, you rated her effective in staff relationships. This is a huge concern for me and my friends, because our children are here. And when we're looking at, in multiple questions, over 50% of the teachers disagree or strongly disagree or have no comment at all. That's a problem. We want our educators to be supported in their role every day. And I can just point out, question 11, 40% of the teachers disagreed that communication and constructive criticism with the district office, administration, and employees is respect, and reciprocal. Question 12, 62% of teachers feel uncomfortable sharing their opinions and ideas with the district office administrators due to fear or worry of retaliation. That's huge, because how can teachers be supported if they can't even go to the people that are supposed to help them teach our children? Question 19, 59% of teachers say they don't believe that the district values their opinion in school development plans. Who better to know what's going on in the building than the teachers that are in the building? Question 27, over 50% of teachers said that they have no confidence in the social and academic direction of the district. Again, huge light bulb. Were any of these things looked at and when this effective rating was given? And the biggest one that was huge. Question 15, 69% of the teachers believe the Board of Ed is not aware of the concerns, issues, and challenges of the educators in the district. And you guys all received this, because if I got it, you guys got it too. We haven't even talked about the rotation of staff in the last year and how much did the taxpayers pay due to the poor hiring decisions that resulted in the firings. And I struggle to understand the highly effective rating for instructional leadership. Just looking at the responses that the teachers gave to the surveys. How about program after program pushed into schools and classrooms without due diligence and engagement of the staff? Now, I'm an educator myself. I subbed in these schools for many years before I went back to the full-time job. And I saw programs come in, here you go, you get to learn it, and that's not the way to put a program out. As a parent, my children had spelling for quite a few years, and then Teachers College came. I love Teachers College, got Teachers College. I understand Teachers College. You can't drop it in 4th grade because the kids don't have the foundation to continue. That's the program that should have started in kindergarten and every year gone up a grade. I'm not exactly sure when the teachers that I know, that I talk to, that understand how these things work, were not consulted about how best to roll in a very good program so that our kids could get 100% of the benefit. Now,
I'm going to have to interrupt you on the 2-minute rule. I've been generous on that already. There's another difficulty here as well.
I have about a paragraph to read.
I'm sure. But the problem is time. So, the other problem is, this is a personnel matter. Even though it's the superintendent, it's still a personnel matter. And there's just so much that the board can discuss or debate in public on this matter without running another risk. So your comments are duly noted. We did hear them. We are in a process now of discussing these matters. The process is not complete. Yes, sir, and yes, sir.
How you doing? Brian Horner. On May 15th, 16 out of 675 school budgets in New York State failed to pass. In Putnam County, the only one that failed to pass was ours. In Westchester County, the only one was New Rochelle. In Orange County, and then another one in Rockland, in Ramapo. In Orange County, 1 failed. In Dutchess County, none failed. That's 82 that passed and 4 that failed. I coached girls varsity soccer for 8 years at Byron Mills. I've been a teacher there for 16 years. I go to numerous workshops and such, and I can tell you that the reputation of this district has gone up exponentially in the last 5 years. Exponentially, just in terms of word of mouth. When you're at conferences, the respect level, it wasn't there up until the last 3 or 5 years. You can trust me on that. A lot of great programs have happened in the last few years, from going to the PBL model, Project Lead the Way, some of the things, that great stuff from the CD Star art students that were up there. It is all crucial to a school district. It's crucial to what a school district does. Also, there's a good presentation on the Chromebooks. Every quality level school district has already gone to one-to-one Chromebooks, or another company who is in the process of doing so. the things that can be done, the things that students can achieve, and the fact that it's just necessary is great. And I think it's awesome that we're really going that way. I saw a post last week on Facebook that said that the bilingual preferred being on some applications here for teachers in Brewster is why, quote, we don't have good teachers. First, you're wrong. There are great teachers here. The preferred doesn't mean necessary. I think you should be able to trust that. The best person gets hired, and the use of the word preferred is not discriminatory or exercising exclusivity at all. It's pretty common on job applications. Last thing, and I'm glad Mr. Carlson brought it up before, you can also go to the New York State School Boards Association, nyssba.org, to see the explanation of contingency. And I saw a lot of things in the last couple months. Contingency is a threat, that can't happen. That is a death knell, just a death knell for a school district. For a lot of areas and such, when the school budget is voted down in a district, that's a death knell for a district. Look what happened in Mayapack 8-9 years ago. They still haven't recovered. Their reputation is terrible. The things that led to that no vote, they're still struggling with it. It is an absolute death knell if you're going to go to contingency. The budget has to pass. Now, there's a lot of work ahead, and our town's been kind of ripped apart here. But I know we can heal and improve, and I know we can do this without name-calling and without viciousness from both sides. Clearly, many people here in Brewster feel that their voices have not been being heard. 800 people voted no. And that's a problem, all right? It's been acknowledged before, and that is obviously a problem. But I do know that whether it's in smaller meetings or set appointments, phone calls, emails, over lunch, or in small forums, that's often a better way to accomplish things than just coming to a board meeting and just going full bore in attack mode. A lot of things that are being expressed could have been done in smaller groups, one-on-one meetings, phone calls, as opposed to just always coming here and just venting. Last thing, I'm sure the 2 minutes are already up. I respect everyone in this room. I think this budget has to pass. Going to contingency, it's a joke. It has to pass. I think we can rally together as a community to make this better and to continue to improve while our children continue to receive a great education.
Yes, sir. You were ready?
Good evening. My name is Mark Hager. I'm a 20-year resident, and I have 2 children in the school system. On Friday, June 4th, 2018, 126 scholars from the 6th and 7th grades of Henry H. Wells Middle School were honored for maintaining grades worthy of the high honor roll for 3 consecutive quarters. 8th graders will be recognized during the graduation ceremony. Then again on Thursday, June 7th, 2018, 321 scholars were honored at Brewster High School for grades worthy of the high honor roll. Among these exceptionally hardworking and dedicated students, 38 seniors were recognized for being 7-year scholars. 7-year scholars are recognized for maintaining grades worthy of the high honor roll consistently from 6th grade through 12th grade. What an incredible accomplishment for all of these students and our district. As I sat in the audience, I witnessed the pride and joy of not only the students, but also their families. In addition, I also had the pleasure of attending the induction ceremony for the National Junior Honor Society on June 1st at Wells. The 5 principles of NJHS of character, leadership, service, scholarship, and citizenship. These virtues are exemplified by our educators right here in Brewster. A good friend of mine once told me a long time ago that being a mother is the most difficult job in the world. It takes a village to raise a child. We can't prepare our children for the world at large by ourselves, just as the schools can't educate our children without a positive, collaborative partnership with our families. Our wonderful professional educators here in Brewster influence and inspire students while parents encourage and nurture them. As parents, we want to be positive role models for our children. We are extremely fortunate to have positive role models for our children from the dedicated and committed team of professional educators led by Dr. Henning Spiedman, Ms. Gosh, Mr. Clark, Dr. Zamplin, and all the other administrators, teachers, support staff, custodians, and bus drivers that work for the Brewster Central School District. Dr. Hennings-Piedmont has referenced the soft skills that will factor in the future success of our children many times since she began serving this community. They are compassion, empathy, kindness, integrity, moral courage, and civic responsibility. An education that prepares our children for the future extends far beyond academics. Mr. Clark made a profound statement to the students during the NJHS induction ceremony. He said, "Separate yourself from the crowd. Sometimes the right thing to do is not the most popular thing to do." I urge you all to think for yourself regarding the effectiveness of our school district. It's absurd to tear down all that we've built up over the last decade. Public education is an important democratic institution that's under attack, and it has been for some time now. Hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent to shape educational policy by very powerful and wealthy special interests. During these difficult times when Common Core, high-stakes testing, and New York State mandates control the direction of the education that our children will receive, we need experienced and knowledgeable leaders to guide our school district. I call upon this community to set a positive example for our children. I encourage all stakeholders to step up and make this community stronger by partnering with our schools. Finally, as Mr. Clark said to the students, be grateful. One of the most important things that you can do is say thank you to those who have gone out of their way in order to help you. I'm here tonight to say thank you to the teachers, the staff, the administration of Brewster Central Schools. In addition, I want to thank the board and our outgoing board members, Mary Kay Nilsson and Dr. Jambor for their service to this community. Dr. Jambor volunteered to serve this community for the last 18 years. Your wisdom and guidance will restore you to
she gets to finish what she was going to say.
Thank you.
Let her finish what she was going to say if we're going to break the rules. That's right.
Right. Let the
Oh, you've gone long enough the last few meetings, long
Oh,
enough.
Mark, perhaps you should have said something.
Pause, catch our breath. I apologize for
No, let her finish.
Let her finish. She had one paragraph left.
I'd like to finish. The two speakers after me spoke more than 2 minutes. I have just a little bit more I'd like to read.
No. You're done.
On the strategic parents plan, only 24% of teachers agreed that the program inspired them. 76 were either neutral, disagreed, or strongly disagreed that it inspired them. Yet he provided a grade of effective. The mental health metric was incomprehensible, yet I know the fiasco of shuffling the counselors caused, but again, surprised by the effective grade. Now, what I am, based on Dr. Henning's contract, the only obligation the BOE has to consider is the extension. We have 2 new board members that joined us with landslide vote wins, and I would request, we all would request, that you defer any consideration on the extension of Dr. Henning's contract until the 2 new BOE members join on July 3rd. The contract says this consideration must occur by August 1st, so there is time. Making any decision earlier to that date is premature and frankly spiteful to the community. Thank you.
We are in the middle of a process. Who knows how timely it's going to be. Yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. First,
Yes, hi, I know Julie pretty well, and I have to say that I'm surprised that she's not happy, but, you know, you're entitled to feel you feel. But I'm a resident here, and I'm pretty happy with the review with Dr. Henry. So, I'm sorry, but you don't speak for me, all due respect. You might speak for the people that you know, but I know lots of teachers. I've been a volunteer for many years in the school district, and I have children in the school district, and everyone I speak to is pretty darn happy. So please don't speak for me, and don't speak for all of the teachers, because it's not true. It's simply not true. So, thank you.
The survey
Great, thank you.
The teachers took a survey, that was who spoke.
That you manipulated.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Heather Osman. I'm a resident here for 12 years. I also have been in higher ed for 25 years. We have 2 children, one in JFK and one in CV Star, and we're very pleased with both schools. So to the board members and to the superintendent, thank you for your good work this year, all of you. I wish to thank especially the superintendent for her vision in our school district. She's the embodiment of the best kind of leadership. To borrow language from one of the greatest 20th century orators, she leads with a sharp intellect and a gentle heart, which is appropriate and directly beneficial to the children in her care. I also want to congratulate her on her recent nominations and accolades, and I'm so very pleased to see that not only our district has been recognized by external communities, but the superintendent herself. This is a trend that benefits everyone. I support the board for fulfilling its legal commitment to address the superintendent's review within the contracted time frame. I see no reason to hold our children's education hostage, so I urge the voters in this district to vote yes to the budget next week. A resultant contingency budget would be disastrous for next year, and it would certainly send a message to the community. One that is fraught with anger, one that reiterates a narrative of scarcity, and a desperate clutch to the status quo in the past. Anyone can say no. Anyone can destroy and deconstruct. But then you have nothing, and nothing begets nothing. Anger and emotionalism do not build a school district. They don't build anything. They are only feelings. A school district needs logic and rationalism, a sharp mind, and a gentle heart. Thank you.
Okay, I'll get right back to you, Dan, in a second. Ms. Sussman, then Jay.
I'm just going to say a couple of words. First of all, I think everybody did a great job today. And the teachers, I mean, there's no better teachers than Rooster. I always said that if I had been taught by some of them, I would be a teacher today. They wouldn't decide. However, as far as the superintendent goes, she got an amazing compliment. I ran into somebody pretty prominent. I'm not going to give names. And I happen to mention that I'm, from Rooster, from the school district. He goes, your superintendent is amazing. I go, I'm preaching to the choir. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Mr. Stockfield?
First of all, I just want to say congratulations to everybody here. I think it's a huge victory that you all spoke and the residency task force was created and it's moving forward. I think that's huge. I had a question actually for the attorneys, so I'm hoping you guys could pass this along. It's just another idea. I would assume there's going to be some unhappy families after the process. Are we going to be in line for a bunch of lawsuits when that happens? Or is it just cut and dry? Either you have the documents or you don't. So that's just one concern I had. And then I had a question. Did you guys say that the children have to be present for the registration itself?
They do not.
They do not? An idea, just wanted to throw out to all of you also, is if there are people that are willing to sneak their kids into the district for one way or another, I wouldn't put it past some of them to falsely identify their kids as well. So I'm going to encourage you guys, the board discusses the option of submitting or the school taking a photo of each child. It could be done with a tablet when the process is being done. Costs nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Just for the registration, they started to be kindergarten.
Yes.
I have a question also about residency. We no longer have to refer to that person that's raising the child or has the child in their home as the legal guardian. Are we saying they don't have anything that's legally binding them to that child? So how do we know if that child truly lives with them? If they have their last name, or I don't understand how we're going to prove that connection, that this child actually lives in their home.
We have custody
You understand?
records that have to have the data on it. So the custody records would have to be in order.
But, so you're saying there has to be some kind of legal document
Yes.
that shows that this child...
Is connected to that person
Okay,
living in that home.
okay, thank you.
One thing I'm wondering is what the cost of all of this re-registration is going to be. I don't know if the board has discussed that or not. That's not the real thing I want to say, but that is definitely on the line. My name is Rebecca Hagenauer. Over the past couple of months, many things have been said by those claiming to be speaking for the community. Let me be very clear, they do not speak for me. My comments tonight are directed to the current board, especially Superintendent Pennings Piedmont, Dr. Stephen Jambor, Mary Kay Nelson, and Michelle Rash. I've always felt tremendous pride in the fact that my children are attending the best school district in the county. As a teacher myself, I understand and appreciate all that goes into making that happen. As an educated, tax-paying member of this community, I value the professionalism and experience that you have brought to your work every single day. You tirelessly strive to do what is best for students, despite the ongoing challenges that come from many directions. I've been in the schools a lot in the last couple of months for all the many meetings, concerts, ceremonies. I see you there, visiting our children's classrooms, celebrating and encouraging our youth, driving through the community, assessing storm damage, and making the decisions needed to keep our kids safe, opening our schools to those without power, shaking hands and congratulating the hundreds of students receiving honors awards. Yes, hundreds. It was amazing to see just how many students received high honor roll status, while also being involved in the arts, sports, and other activities. That does not happen unless a district is thriving, unless there is tremendous teamwork of wonderful parents, teachers, administrators, and the children themselves. Our students achieve these numerous accomplishments because of the consistency and the tenacity of the district, and that in large part is due to your leadership. I applaud you for your professionalism in working with the community. You have remained calm throughout. However, I do encourage you to continue making decisions based on what you know is best for our kids. You are the trained professionals with the experience. I, as well as many of the people in the community whom I have spoken with, trust you, and we value what you do for our children. It's with the utmost sincerity that I say, thank you.
Okay, we'll take a motion, please, as we accept. Sorry.
Just came here to speak tonight to offer a unique perspective on the budget vote coming up on the 19th. I settled down here in Brewster about 10 years ago, knowing nobody, no family, no friends, but I came here because of the reputation of the school district, which was at that time very high, and as a gentleman noted who spoke first, it is now exponentially higher. Prior to settling down here in Brewster, I served 2 tours of duty in Iraq as a part of the rebuild effort, where the infrastructure, with a special emphasis on rebuilding schools, was underway, and it was a part of that rebuilding process. And I saw the emphasis and the importance that the Army, the government, and everyone associated with the efforts placed on education. And it just, made me proud that I knew back home in America what the educational system was and how I came up through it, the public school system, and was excited to get on with the rest of my life in Brewster. Fast forward 10 years to tonight, and here I am speaking in support of the budget on the 19th. Please vote yes. I will be voting yes. It would be disastrous to have to go to a contingency budget, and I feel it would be more than ironic where I would find myself back home in America having to fight for educational resources and opportunities for my daughter here in Brewster, in my own community. Voting no on the budget on the 19th is not going to change anything for the better. It's only going to make things worse and take away opportunities from our children and our students and our community. And if you have grievances or problems or issues with other aspects of the school district, I would just urge you to work them out in another way, rather than subject our children to reduced resources, opportunities, and advantages. Thank you.
Sir?
Eric Lucca. I had the pleasure of meeting the Finance Committee meeting last week with Victor and Valerie. I don't think anybody in this room knows the budget better than I do, except for maybe Victor. I've pored over it for hours and hours. I think the budget being proposed is a better budget than the first one, and I think I speak for most people in this room that I also support this budget. Don't want to contingent the budget, but I think that just a point I want to make that it's the same budget amount, but it's a better allocation of the dollars, and that's a good thing. So, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. On behalf of the board, I want to thank all of you for what was probably the most active and rigorous and challenging budget season that we have ever had. And honest to goodness, that's probably a good thing. It's our American right and our freedom, and man, we exercise it to the fullest. I'll take a motion, please, for us to adjourn.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session. The board needs to engage in its contract discussion for our superintendent. And no, we will not be returning to make any formal action.
On the motion, usually seconded by Ms. O'Brien. All those in favor, off to work and go. Thank you again, folks. Thanks for the phone.